Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and another episode about tarantulas. Now, this isn't a slight, me telling you how to do stuff, me saying anyone's doing anything wrong. I'm just telling you where I am with my tarantula collection, how it came to be, and why it is like it is. So, I've kept tarantulas since I was 16 years old, nearly all New World classic stuff. I don't know, Brazilian blacks, red knees, giant white knees. A few other oddballs, such as, well, more oddball than the New World, such as Singapore blues. I've obviously kept greenbottle blues. Pretty classic stuff, pretty much all New World and stuff I could pick up and handle. For over 15 years, I've run a business where I go to schools, so I've always wanted tarantulas that I can get out and handle, if nothing else. Too much of that, not a good thing, and I'll tell you why. You can develop allergies to all kinds of things. I've got quite a bit of an allergy to the sun. I've spent my whole life being a sun worshipper. I've lived and worked abroad in the sun, and I've ended up having to put cream on my face to burn rather dodgy bits of skin off my face, and so on and so forth. I know another guy that's a pest controller. Like me, he's been stung by literally hundreds of wasps. No bother, no fear, no care about wasps at all. Pick them up, throw them out the window, just like me. He dropped down dead a couple of years ago, or almost, with anaphylactic shock after one wasp stung him on the nose. And on that vein, I've got quite a bad allergy to many of the urticated hairs on New World tarantulas, to the point it took a while to work out why I was getting covered, especially around my neck, in a really itchy rash. And my wife, her nurse, put it together. Have you had a tarantula on your team today? So I got rid of all my tarantulas. I gave them to the local reptile shop, some really big adult specimens as well, gave them away. And I just kept a couple that friends gave me, spiderlings, like curly hair, that I could just take to school in an enclosure, leave it in the enclosure, there's a spider, kids, that kind of thing. So my whole interest in tarantulas dwindled away. It didn't dwindle away, my whole keeping of them did. Just recently I thought, you know, I'm really getting that urge again. And I thought, well, let's do something different. Let's keep mostly old world species, something I've hardly dabbled in. Remember those Singapore blues were about the only ones. And instead of stuff that I can get tractable and hold, let's keep stuff that I can display and enjoy in displays. I really like blue animals. I'm sort of colourblind, so I see colours slightly differently, but I love that electric blue of animals. It's quite rare, especially. So unlike many of you and many tarantula keepers, I've gone for a collection that I can display well. Not a collection of everyone I can get. So all of us humans, we're pre-programmed to collect stuff. It's a deep-rooted in our DNA. And for many people, collecting anything becomes an obsession. And it often leads to verging on hoarding and almost mental health. Indeed, we probably all know someone that's got a completely hoarded house. With everything, all kinds of stuff. We see it on telly. I think tarantulas have got the ability to be more collectible. I'm not going to say hoarding, but more collectible than even snakes. They're small, they're easily kept, time consuming is quite low, and so on and so forth. So many of us, or many of you, have hundreds of tarantula species, but many of them kept in little plastic boxes, stacked up. Nothing wrong with that from a spider's point of view at all. But what I'm trying to say is I didn't want shelves and shelves of plastic tubs with various size spiders in that I couldn't really see. It was a display of boxes, little plastic boxes, but I couldn't really see the animals in there. I wanted to have something on display, personal preference, nothing more. So I've looked at doing things bioactive, naturalistic, and much larger, some of the displays, than most people's spiders, for the size of the spider, would ever be in. And I'm really enjoying that. And I've also, instead of collecting everything I can get my hands on, tried to limit it, mostly aiming at New World species, something I've rarely worked with, and the blue. The blue is the thing. So of course, the first thing I did was get a collection, or I'll tell you why, rewind. Something I do is I breed rare and unusual colubrid snakes and a couple of other species of snake. I've never tried to breed tarantulas, so something, I almost don't keep snakes now unless I've got a pair. I find the breeding of them and the interaction almost as fascinating as everything else to do with the snake keeping. And so I really want to try and breed tarantulas in the future. Metallica had to be number one on the list, didn't it? If you want New World and you want blue and you want a display animal, although they are quite light shy. I've acquired, straight off the bat, 7 different Metallica, from a couple of tiny slings, sort of 1-2 centimetre slings, up to sub-adult size. Keeping them in varying different ways. We've got the green bottle blues, although not New World, you can't not have those. Again, old world stuff. We've got Brazilian blue, but we've also got, as well as the blue, other P.regalis species. We've got P.regalis and P.ornata as slings. But even those tiny little slings, we've got versicolors, again, old world. We've got versicolors in there. Even the tiny 1-2 centimetre little slings are in much bigger housing than other people would keep them in. And that's not because it's better. It's actually not. It's because I've got quite a large collection of enclosures that I've dusted off, I've cleaned out, and I wanted a nice display. So I'll show you some of the stuff, but what this video is really about is showing you my main display of the smaller enclosures, and to show you how very inexpensively, not necessarily the enclosures, but the rack system, the display system, nowadays, how inexpensive it is to have something really beautiful and very expandable for those of you, us, that might end up with lots more tarantulas in the future. So I'll show you through some stuff, and then I'll show you the main display, and I'll talk you through it, and I'll show you where I got the stuff from. Really inexpensive, but really attractive. So in here's the largest Metallica, and unlike most Gucci sapphires, Gucci ornamentals, she's actually out an awful lot, quite terrestrially on there. Now I'm filming, there's no sign of her. So this is full bioactive, just like you keep your dart frogs or maybe your geckos in. Living plants, illuminated. And when you see this is a 2-foot high, 18 inch enclosure, and you see that tarantula out here, crawling up here, it just adds to the beauty. I find bioactive planted enclosures like this attractive to look at anyway. I love plants, so I find that attractive and interesting to keep anyway. You throw in a metallic spider crawling up there, wow, and there she is, not out. But number one, the biggest Metallica is in there. And then as we go up, we've got a sex female in here, slightly smaller, different planting, because again, I like my plants. We've gone for a cork tube because I had it. Remember, I'd already got this stuff. I'm just repurposing it. Again, bioactive, and she lives inside that tube, and most nights is hanging her feet out, waiting for prey. Let's see if she's in there. Probably, but further up there by the looks of things. So there's the 2 big bioactive Metallicas enclosures, which I absolutely love. And you know what? Stuff that only comes out now and again at night, like this girl here, like this mangrove snake here. Don't let that put you off. You come down here or into the reptile room at night, you turn the light on, and a beautiful electric blue spider or a black and yellow striped snake is out on the prowl doing its thing. It's worth every minute of them. In here, a communal M.balfouri setup, 18 inch cube. I'm going to say naturalistic rather than bioactive. Very dry, although there are a plant and a moist corner. There's 3 adults in here because I took a pair out, a mature male and the biggest female. But those 3 will be right in that spot together very often. Totally not bothered. I was worried about the size of the enclosure when I put these in as adults, whether they would become territorial in a large enclosure with just 3 of them in, or not at all. Absolutely brilliant, quite often seen together. And again, to me, naturalistic. See those animals out. I just love it. So let me show you my main setup that I want to talk to you guys about. Firstly, over here, we've got some slings growing on. We've got a 5 spider communal of P.regalis slings in there, and we've got 2 growing on quite well now Metallica spiderlings. Light's really helping, isn't it? You get the idea. Growing on in there, in those enclosures, again bigger than most people would put them in. It's no problem. Keep your humidities right, keep the setup right, and feed them right. Get the food out if it's not eaten. Pre-kill food, most of these will take that. If you're worried about the food sort of getting away from where it is, pre-kill food. But look up here, some LED lighting tucked away up there. So this is what we've got. We've got I actually couldn't believe how cheap these rack systems are. A rack system off the internet. And here we are. There's a few odd boards. We've got millipedes, we've got springtails, and I want to say wood lice. Nowadays you want to call them isopods, of course, highly collectible. There's a couple of species or colour morphs in there, and springtails, good bioactive that I can put in 2 other enclosures should I wish to. We've got a rainforest scorpion, Asian forest scorpion species there for school education, a giant millipede. But here, in my main enclosures, there's some still empty, but mostly full. And we go from, oh, excuse the ugly mug. This guy, I've had this guy from a tiny little spiderling, little curly hair. You can't not have this species, the greenbottle blue. You can't not have that. And if you can have them, why not have 3 or 4 and hope you get a pair. And then in here is an adult female M.balfouri, related to that main setup. She's in there. And over here, putting down some web. Annoyingly, he's already made his sperm web. I just need one of those females, I think, to shed out, really. Not a lot of interest at the moment. Look at him. And he's eating and he's drinking, so he should be okay for a bit longer yet. And again, having slightly bigger enclosures you can see in. So in here, iconic baboon spider in here. And she's made some fantastic burrows, a great tunnel system in there, to the point you even get to see her in that tunnel sometimes because of the glass. I don't know where she is. Ravenous feeder, fantastic species. Don't be put off by this new world stuff. You're not going to handle it. You're not going to get bitten. You're going to rehouse it easily. Don't be scared of your animals, but if you're not scared, some of these things are fascinating. If you haven't got M.balfouri in your collection, yeah, you really should have. So we're going to go up now to some, there's a tiny little Singapore blue sling. There's a couple of those, one in each one. Again, much bigger enclosures. They're just fine. It's just how you feed them and keep that enclosure correct. We've got a young Metallica here growing on. It's going to be rubbish like this through the glass, isn't it? Another Metallica in here and another sub-adult in here. And as we go up, we've got Brazilian blue. I'll overlay that. Got empty one here. We've got some great green bottle blues in here. Let's have a look at this one. Look at that. And look at that. What a nice setup that you can see in. It's just so much better. You can use clear plastic, of course, but just sort of semi-transparent tubs. You're having that collection, but you're just not getting to see these beauties, I think, as well as you could. And then we're going to go up. What do we got up here? We've got a couple of P.ornata. We've got a tiny curly hair sling in a pot. We've got another tiny P.ornata in a pot. We've got Versicolor. We've got another Brazilian blue. We've got 10 M.balfouri in here. Little tiny juicy fat slings in here growing on. And we've got temperature and humidity gauges dotted around. All this stuff's so cheap compared to when I was a kid. It really is. So have a look at this. We've got LED lighting LED strip lighting. So I'm going to turn you around. Whee. LED strip lighting like this. Self-adhesive on a roll. Goes all the way around. You don't need to be a DIY expert to install that all the way around the inside edge, so it's not shining in your face. You're not seeing it, it's shining at the animals. And then look at these are amazing. 1 watt LED cabinet spotlights, just stuck on with a double-sided sticky tab, and it means you can further illuminate. And there's no plants in here. You can just put these on when you're in the room. They don't need to be on at any other time, but the spiders aren't shy of them. Many other species here, look at that. So these little tiny spotlights are illuminating the center enclosures, which don't have so much of the LED wraparound lighting showing them up, but it really gives just a fantastic look to this display. And you can just keep adding and adding and adding if you want. So what have we got here? Well, I've had these for a long time. I do like them. Some people don't. I do. They're brilliant. Got good ventilation. All the big fangs can chew through that ventilation there, even though it's steel. What would I have if I hadn't already got a store of all of these little custom aquarias? Probably them, or front opening exoterras, which do make life really manageable, especially on a rack system. You could obviously, you can move these shelves, but obviously these have to come out, take the lids off to access them. You choose what you use. I just wanted to show you guys a cheap, effective way to display your animals in, I've got to tell you, a much more enjoyable format. So all these lights are remote controlled. You've got remote controls for everything. Technology now has become so inexpensive, it's quite ludicrous really. So you've got your remote controls, you've got your lighting, you've got your spotlights. So remember, I'd already got my enclosures, but I'll put on a screen now. I think most of the stuff just came off Amazon. I know whether you love it or hate it. You can go online, Rhino Racking. I actually got spare shelves from them to make more shelves in the racking system, direct online. But I found them on Amazon, and I'll put links on there now, or rather, pictures you can just search yourself on there. So inexpensive, and yet I love how these things are being kept. I've still got space in there to add stuff in as stuff moves and grows. But remember, some of my slings, they're in homes that are going to last them, probably compared to many people, 2 or 3 rehouses. And again, humidities, keep that kind of correct. Don't let things dry out for those little tiny slings. If you're worried about dropping in a live cricket and the sling's in something bigger, it's never going to find it, bear in mind, most of these spiderlings and juveniles are quite happy to eat freshly pre-killed prey, dropped on the edge of their web or on the edge of where they're hiding just before dark, and they'll come out, eat it. And of course, check every day after feeding, clear up anything that's not been eaten or any bits and remains that have been eaten. It's all working really well here. So let me show you those things. Have a think about it, think about what you can do, but just really, this was just about showing you how you can make something very attractive for actually way less cost than I thought. And for me, it fits into the reptile room. And let me just show you one thing that makes it fit into my reptile room even better. So behind here is actually a door. This is a converted integral garage, and there's a door there that I can, a one-person door. It's a roller shutter door, fully insulated, but there's a door for me to step in and out of should I need to. I've got access into the house, but this is in the way, but it really fills a bare wall in this reptile room. So quite simply, again, I'll put a link up or a picture up. A block of wood, or some wood, you can see it's actually split a little bit, and some cheap casters, heavyweight casters on the bottom there, which means the whole thing can simply be pulled to one side. Easy peasy indeed. By the way, if you've got a warm room, or you can keep them nice and warm, dubia roach colony. Yes, you can buy mealworms and crickets, but to have a colony of dubia roaches in a tub, really less, not very smelly at all, really easy to keep. You've always got, once that colony grows, food for most sizes of your spiders. So there you go, just a insight into my resurgence into the world of spiders, how things have changed from the past and what I'm doing now, how I'm keeping them now. All is successful, but for me now, the next end game is watching some of these guys grow into adults and then in the future producing and breeding some tarantulas. I love breeding the snakes. Check back here in the future to see how we get on with those tarantulas. Please subscribe to the channel. If nothing else, click on the playlist so you've got once a week reptiles or invertebrates swapping around one day. Every week as well, you've got another falconry bird of prey channel or video. And you've got the vlog, which is everything I'm doing plus nature. So 3 videos a week. And if you only like your tarantulas, maybe you've got to wait a fortnight to see the next ones. But check out the playlist. The tarantula side of this video, of this channel, is kind of pretty new indeed. Thanks for watching, guys. It is appreciated. Comment below. Remember, this isn't slighting how anyone keeps their stuff. If you're happy, your animals are well cared for, that's all that matters, isn't it? But I wanted to keep stuff on display much more visually for me and not end up with oodles of tarantulas hidden away in pots just to become a collector and have everything I could possibly get. I really stopped myself doing that with my snakes. I really keep key species. Prime example, dry markon, the indigo and crebos, that group of snakes. I'm working with 3 species. There are other species available. I don't want them. I'll stick with the 3 that I really wanted. We can end up with massive collections and to some degree that we don't enjoy. Don't get into that trap, and I'll see you next time.